gonna go ahead and get started. Thank you so much, guys, for being here this evening. I know many of you started off wanting to participate in this just because you had a heart to want to do something. And sometimes we want to do things and we don't feel like we know what it is we can actually do. But most of you you teamed up with other people who had the same heart to do something, or you got together with your chorus so that you could perform something, or you prepared something meaningful with cohesion so that you could share something with us. So we just want to thank you all for being here, and whatever way you participated, we're very grateful. When I say we, I'm not talking about just myself and South Seminole. This is Miss Williams, and Miss Williams works at Covenant House, and Miss Williams is our speaker for this evening. She's going to share a lot of stuff with you, and if you have questions along the way, Miss Williams would love to take your questions. And after Miss Williams speaks for a couple minutes, about 10-15 minutes, we will head out. We'll head outside for our first activity. So before we leave for our first activity, I'll give you some more instructions, but can I give you the opportunity to welcome Miss Williams?
Hey.
Well, I want to thank you guys all for being here and for everything that you've done leading up to this event to help raise some money for the youth at Covenant House, as well as being part of this event to raise awareness to the rest of your classmates and your school. I want to start by asking you guys to think about a time when you've seen somebody that you probably thought was homeless, whether they were living on the streets or asking for money. I want you guys to visualize that for a minute. And then would you guys mind telling me what image of a person you're picturing in your head? Mm-hmm. Yeah, what did you see?
I was at church helping out money for rent.
Mm-hmm. So you saw somebody on the side of the road with a sign that said they needed money for rent and for food, so you knew they didn't have a home and they were hungry? Mm-hmm.
I saw people in Walmart asking for money for food, and they had little children.
Mm-hmm. So you saw a family that had some little kids that needed food and were asking for help?
Where I go to there, there's always a man on the street who has a son and a dog who asks for money because I never go into their house because he doesn't have like a backpack or like a place to live and stuff.
Okay, so a man that has a dog that's also in need of help and support, somewhere to sleep.
I was on a trip to Puerto Rico, and there was this lady on the side of the road. She was injured, like she had a broken leg,
Mm-hmm.
and it was, she did have a cast around it, but she was kind of like middle aged, and she was like asking for money, and she was just sitting on the side of the road, and she had a few kids.
Okay, so a middle-aged woman that had some kind of a disability, but had also taken in some pets.
So I always see this person. I'm probably seeing him again today because I went to Aikido, so at 5:30. So he has one arm missing. He has a wheelchair and a dog and a backpack. And my mom recalls him doing drugs, and he says, "Don't make this." Then my mom says, "Don't make it seem as sick as him." But I don't believe that. But he's always like going nice to people, like waving to cars and stuff, just like confident that he can get at least some help with what he does.
Okay, so an older man that has a disability, and you see him doing good things and being friendly, but your mom seems to think that maybe he made some poor choices.
When I went to Pennsylvania, under the bridge there was like 6 children and a mom sleeping.
Okay, so a mom with a bunch of kids under a bridge. So how old were these people that you guys saw that were homeless?
There was 2 adults and
Okay, so 2 adults and some small kids,
I think the age range would be like 50 to 60.
50 to 60. You said middle-aged. What about you?
30, but she looks really young, and with a little baby,
Mhm.
a 4-year-old and a 10-year-old.
So a 30-year-old woman, and her kids were probably about 10 and 4? Okay. So a lot of the individuals that you guys are seeing have a lot of different needs, it sounds like. Some people are expressing that they're hungry. Some people obviously have small children that they're trying to help feed. But what I'm hearing too is that a lot of the people that you guys are seeing out there are adults and older adults too. But are you guys aware that there are young people that are experiencing homelessness too?
Yes.
Yeah? So in the United States, there's been about 1 in every 30 young people that are 13 to 17 experience some kind of homelessness at some point in time in that year. And then when you look at high school or maybe a little bit out of high school age youth and young adults, individuals that are 18 to 25, that number jumps from 1 in every 10 young adults experience some form of homelessness in their life. That seems like a lot, doesn't it? What do you think are some of the things that lead to young people experiencing homelessness?
Getting kicked out of house.
Getting kicked out,
Losing a job.
losing a job,
Maybe like, they had like the old one, maybe they got evicted from their house.
they got evicted,
Running away from abusive parents.
running away from abusive parents,
Making bad choices.
making bad choices,
Not paying rent.
not paying their rent,
Not taking responsibility.
not taking responsibility. Yeah, so these are all things that definitely can lead to homelessness. One of the biggest factors that I think you guys see has to do with having the right kind of financial resources. If you can't pay your rent, those kinds of things. But when young people are experiencing homelessness, it's a lot of the other things that you guys mentioned, maybe running away from home because it wasn't safe or being kicked out of the home. One of the common things that we see, despite the fact that all different kinds of young people come through the doors at Covenant House, is that a lot of times there has been some kind of trauma going on inside the household, whether it was trauma that their parents had experienced and they've witnessed, or different kinds of abuse and things like that that happened in the household. And then how that also compounds is there's other different risk factors that can lead to homelessness as well. And you guys have highlighted a couple of those, being having employment or not having employment, not having income. Do you guys think that your education has a role in that? Yeah? So one of the biggest factors is youth that don't get their high school diploma. So young adults that don't get their high school diploma are at a 346% more of risk of ending up in a situation of homelessness at some point in time. What do you guys think are some things that would be protective factors to keep you from experiencing homelessness, even if you were experiencing some of those things in the household?
Buying your own house.
Buying your own house,
Going to school and getting a job.
going to school and then getting a job,
Saving money.
saving your money,
Paying rent on time and being responsible.
paying your rent on time and being responsible. Okay. What kind of things do you have to be able to go to a job and save your money and be able to pay your rent?
School, like school diploma, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
A degree.
A degree, school diploma, those things all definitely help.
Like maybe good grades or good education, because
Good.
some places won't take it.
Good grades and education.
Like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that definitely makes it easier.
financial advice.
Financial advice, getting help from somebody? A background? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so unfortunately, there are a lot of these things that play a role in that. But if you don't have a stable place to stay, it makes it really hard to do some of those things. And so when it's out of your control of if you can stay at home because it's not safe, it ends up being a situation where you have to go find other support systems. If you guys could take just a minute and think for who would it be that you would reach out to if you couldn't go home tonight? If maybe you were asked to leave your house, or if you had to run away to be safe, who are those people that you would trust to reach out to? Your grandparent?
My dad or school.
Your who?
My dad or school.
Your dad or the school?
My best friend.
Your best friend?
My mom.
Your mom?
My stepdad.
Your stepdad?
My mom.
Oh, your aunt? And then
My mom.
your mom? Okay. So you guys have a support system? Yeah.
I was gonna say my friend or like one of my close family members.
Your friend or a close family member? Yeah, these are all great resources. And so when I want to encourage you guys to think of some other ways that you can help out, you guys have already started and done a lot of awesome things, but being able to think about having your own safety net and encouraging your friends to think of theirs so that if they end up in a situation, they know who they can go to is a big thing. For some people, they don't have those resources or those connections for all different kinds of reasons. But those young people can also learn about Covenant House. And so our doors are open to help young people be able to reconnect with family members if they've lost connection, or if their aunt or somebody is in another state or a city. We can help them with reconnecting with family so that they can then get to somewhere safe to stay. But if those things aren't options, then we have a lot of other support systems that can help a lot of the things that you guys are talking about. When our youth come in and stay in the shelter, we work on several different things. And one of the key things is health. I know a couple of you mentioned that some of the homeless people that you observed outside had some kind of a disability, or seemed like they were injured. So being able to have access to health care is one of the big components that help people be able to keep a job and stay housed if they have access to those things that keep them healthy. One of the other pieces that we do at Covenant House is help people get their GED. So like I said, a lot of young people that haven't finished high school don't have the same access to jobs and things like that. So we have a GED program that helps the youth be able to get their diplomas so that they can go on to get the jobs to be able to save up money, pay rent, and those kinds of things. And the other key component to that is that support system piece. So we want to help link people with like the clubs that you guys are organized in the school here, different events in the community, different kinds of religious groups and things like that, so that they have other connections and friends like you guys to help them if they end up in a situation where they're homeless or where they need some kind of support. So what I'm going to encourage you guys today, in addition to all of the awesome things that you've started to do, is take some of these cards when you leave, and you guys get to become an honorary street outreach member for Covenant House. And so what that looks like is you get to hang on to one of these crisis cards. And so if at some time down the line you have a friend that's in need of help, or you see somebody that looks like they're younger and experiencing homelessness, under 21, you guys can give them this card so that they can come and get help. Do you guys have any questions? Well, Covenant House started in New York, and we have a whole bunch of them all over the United States, up in Canada, and in Central America. Here in Florida, we have a location in Fort Lauderdale, and the one here in Orlando is kind of over on the east side on Seminole and Colonial.
What part of New York are you from?
Oh, I think the main shelter there is in Manhattan.
What if it offends the person to ask them if, like, to give them a card?
You know, that's something that I think you have to use your judgment and make sure that it seems like it's a safe situation, or have a parent or an adult or somebody with you before you approach. I wouldn't recommend just going up to strangers in the street and making assumptions, but you can always ask somebody if they need help. And if they say no, then, you know, let them be. But if they say yes, then you can just offer this. Any other questions? All right.
All right, guys, we're going to come back in here in a little bit, but before you leave here, I just wanted to give you an idea as to what's going to take place. So first of all, I said we'll come back later so that we can hear some more, it looks like, from Ms. Williams. But Ms. Williams is going to give us a different topic, a different perspective to look at when we revisit here. So what's going to happen right now is I'm going to send you guys out in groups of 5. It's going to be absolutely random. I'm going to tell you which teacher to go to. So I'll say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Please go find Mr. Bragg. He's right outside. And you'll say, Mr. Bragg, we are your group. And then he will give you some instruction as to what to do. Are you guys with me on that? You guys are not all going to get out and walk out at the same time. Once Mr. Bragg or whatever teacher that you are sent to has done an activity with you, then you are going to go see Ms. Puentes. And Ms. Puentes will give you some instruction as to what to do next. Shortly after that, we will have something to eat. But for right now, we're going to break down into groups of 5. It'll be absolutely random. I'll give you the teacher that you're going to. You guys will walk together to that teacher. And this is the important part of what's going to happen. This activity that we're getting ready to do is a silent activity. Not everything we're going to do tonight is going to be silent and quiet, but this activity that you're getting ready to do is going to be a silent activity. So please have that mentally prepared when you walk out of here, that you're not going to walk out talking with your friends and stuff like that. We want you to talk, just not for this activity. Are you guys with me on that? Okay, so let me please get one As soon as I point to you, you can just go on over to the door. 1, 2, David. 3, I don't know your name. 4, please. And 5. At the door, and please go out and say, Mr. Bragg, we are your group.
Mr. Bragg. Mr. Bragg's right there.
Okay, we're gonna go with another group as soon as they have time to move away.
Hi guys! Sorry, I'm just gonna take it over here. Thank you for sharing your thoughts and your feelings. What were you feeling when you were lying down? And imagine if you had to find a place to lie down, every single marker and a sticky note, whatever color you like, and you're gonna write down the thoughts. What were you feeling every single night? You think they're happy? Are they scared? What?
They're scared.
Listen carefully. Okay. In a moment, we're gonna go on into this cafeteria. When we go through these double doors right here, we are going to stay at these 6 tables. At these 6 tables, you guys can have a seat, and what we're going to do is hear from Cohesion. Cohesion is our set team. So we're gonna go on in, we're gonna have a seat at these 6 tables closest to this door. We're gonna hear from Cohesion, and after that, we will move on. So you're...
Hi everybody, this is Cohesion. We are Cohesion, the 17. And basically, guys, Cohesion means together, and cohesion also means unity, which means we are always together in sync. And guys, I hope you guys enjoy our show, and always know that even if you are down, there's probably going to be somebody that is willing to help you. And that always means you can come to people and always be together with somebody. Thank you guys.
In our community, it's all about seeking positive opportunities.
Opportunities that can also be solutions.
A solution of our revolutions.
Revolution is a drastic change in the way we think and behave.
We can behave or we can engrave.
Engrave in our world's history.
To make a switch to enrich.
And that life does have to be lived by a gun.
It also shows going for your goals and hitting home run.
And in our hearts, filling missing parts. And with ourselves and others, we can help others start.
But like we said, it's all about positive opportunities.
And bringing community together in unity.
Because without unity,
There is no such thing as community.
Good job, Steph team.
That was amazing, amazing. Very cool.
I hope you guys feel better. You feel a little bit socialized and you got some food in your bellies. It is time now to give our attention back to Miss Williams, who is going to share with you a new topic to take into consideration. And when you walk away this evening, because of what Miss Williams has shared and because of your own thoughts, Taryn, then you have the opportunity to be mindful and share it with others. But you can't do that if you're not taking in some stuff. So while Miss Williams is sharing with you, you guys can be taking it in. And once again, she would love to hear what your questions are, what your thoughts are, but you have to be listening in order to share those. So thank you, Ms. Williams.
All right, so we're shifting gears a little bit, and what we're going to talk about right now is human trafficking. Have you guys heard of this before?
Yes.
Do you guys know what that is?
Yes.
Does somebody want to tell me?
It's like somebody you met online, like you're dating, and then you meet, and then it's like, I don't know, it's like if he's part of the mafia or something, or catfish.
So online would be a way that somebody could meet you for a human trafficking situation, and it could be some kind of crime situation or some kind of trick to get you to think they're somebody else. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They make you, when you meet, they make you do things that you wouldn't do in life.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's all I have.
So they make you do things? Yeah, you guys are all right. Human trafficking is when somebody uses force or coercion or some kind of a trick or fraud to either buy or sell or get people to do things that are not safe or are forced labor where they don't get compensated for it, or where they're trapped in a situation where they have to work for no money, or sometimes things that you wouldn't want to be involved in, things that are unsafe and unhealthy for you, like different kinds of sex labor and things like that. Do you guys think that that's something that happens here in Orlando? Yeah. Yeah, actually the United States is one of the biggest countries ranked out of the world for highest levels of human trafficking. And when we look at the numbers for the United States, Florida is ranked number 3, and Orlando is one of the 3rd highest cities for human trafficking in the United States. That's pretty scary, huh? You know what? I'm not 100% sure. I forget. Yeah. So what that looks like is across the world, there's about 40.3 million victims of human trafficking, and those are all different kinds of subsets of the population. 81% of those people are in situations where they're trapped in a job or some kind of labor camp type situation where they can't get out of, and that's what a lot of times is referred to as modern day slavery. Another situation is 25% of those 40 million are children that get trapped in situations or sold into other countries or transported across state lines in situations where, you know, they're taken from their family and things like that. And 75% of the people that are experiencing this and are victimized are women and girls. Did you have a question?
No, I wanted to like say something just because I happened to my mom's friends.
Yeah.
So my mom's best friend's daughter, she had a friend and she was like dating online with somebody, and then she was walking home on the bus, like walking home alone, and then the guy kidnapped her and killed her.
Wow. That's scary. Did you guys hear what she said? That a friend of the family had met somebody they were dating online, and when she was on her way home, she got kidnapped and was eventually killed. Yeah, these kinds of things are really scary. But there are different things like we talked about earlier. There's risk factors, and there are different kinds of ways that you can help prevent experiencing something like this and help other people avoid it. What do you think are some of the big things that might put somebody at risk to, you know, be lured into or taken into a situation like this?
Maybe like using a dating app and thinking it's gonna work and it does not.
using a dating app and it ends up not being a good situation?
Like say you have social media and like how they were saying, like say you date someone, but like they could find you and say that they're a specific age and they're not the same age as you.
So somebody pretending to be younger or have more in common with you that kind of tricks you into liking them?
On I use Snapchat as quick add. And people click at you and they could be of age they're not. And that's how the girl got killed on Snapchat.
Wow. So Snapchat and the quick ad?
Oversharing.
Oversharing information, yeah, giving people information about you so they know more maybe about where you live or places that you go, where you go to school and things like that, and would be able to find you that way. Running away from home, that's a big one. Do you guys know that homeless and runaway youth are at a much higher risk of being trafficked than other young people? And some of those reasons are because of the different things that make you more vulnerable in those situations. Like we talked about before, a lot of homeless people they don't have the money that it takes to be able to pay for rent or somewhere safe to stay. So a lot of young people find themselves in situations where they are in need of getting money. One of the Covenant houses in New Orleans did a study on human trafficking and interviewed a bunch of the young people in the shelter. And they said that 91% of the young people had been approached by somebody on the street to try to offer them some kind of job that ended up being fraud or some kind of a trick when they got there. So just needing money and being in a vulnerable situation makes you potentially come into more contact with people that don't have the right intentions for those kinds of things.
Also eBay.
eBay? Can you expand on that a little bit?
So like if someone says that you can buy something online, they have to know where you live because like if they come to your house and they might trap you and kidnap you.
So putting that kind of information out there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you guys are really aware of how dangerous it can be by putting a lot of personal information out online. So that's definitely a way to stay safe, is to avoid some of those situations. One of the other things outside of just financial resources is when young people are on the streets and need a place to stay. That was another one of the situations where sometimes people would make a deal with somebody to be able to stay somewhere and then end up being coerced into exchanging favors and things like that in order to be able to stay in that place. So the homeless youth are at more risk. So what are some of the ways for combating this problem and being able to avoid it? You guys have brought up a lot of the internet safety stuff. Do you have any other ideas? Watch where you sit. Is that what you said? Oh, watch what you say. Okay. Any other ideas? What about when you're out, like at a park or something like that? What could you do to keep yourself safe in that situation?
Like go with a group of friends or an adult.
Yeah, being with a group of friends. Yeah.
Always have a phone on you or something that you can contact help.
Yeah.
So say you walk home from school, like when you ride the bus, and you have a phone, but like, I don't know. What do you do if someone tries to harm you?
Do you have an idea?
Scream.
Scream? That's a good one.
Self-defense.
Self-defense?
Oh, that's good.
You could take all your weight off and just like slug, like I don't know, weight yourself to the ground.
Oh, so they couldn't pick you up as easily?
Being cautious about everything.
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest things that you can do to prevent the situation is being aware of your surroundings. I think a lot of times we might be out and about and see something that looks a little funny and then we try to convince ourselves that we're just being paranoid or something like that. But really trusting your gut can be the biggest thing to protect you. I even had a situation where I was walking at a park near my house and it was the middle of the day, so I thought I was safe. I'd been there a bunch of times. And some boy started following me through the park and kept getting closer. And I thought I was being a little paranoid, so I stopped at the water fountain. But then he walked past me and waited for me to keep going. And I then realized that I wasn't just being paranoid. This guy was following me. And so I realized that I had to do something, but I was out there by myself, and I got really lucky that right down the street there was a mailman. So I ran over there and hung out there until the guy was gone. But that would be a situation where if I was just thinking I was being paranoid, something bad could have happened. So that being aware of your surroundings and, you know, trusting that gut instinct that something doesn't feel right is a big deal.
I was at this park with my older sister and two of my younger siblings, and there was this man. He was like sitting in the part where the playground was, and then we were like getting like paranoid, so we moved in a different spot, and then we saw him move closer. So we had like this walkie-talkie, and my mom has like the other one, and we told her that we saw this man, and she came over, and then he left when we saw her.
Yeah, so having something like that in place where you have a safety plan before you even get somewhere is a huge way to prevent something like that happening.
Me and my mom were at the grocery store, and this guy kept taking photos of us, just like standing there taking photos of us. And he checked out, and then he like ran away.
Yeah, that's scary.
I remember this one time. So me, my mom, and my sister were at the park, and so my mom, she's like really short. Like some people even mistake her for like a teenager and stuff because she's so short and stuff. So there's just this really random, like really weird guy, and like kept on following us and following us. And even my mom kept on saying, hi, I'm their mom. And then after a while, we just left because we just thought it was so creepy.
Yeah. So it sounds like a lot of you guys have had experiences too where you are trusting your gut and realizing that some of those kind of situations aren't right, and you're able to get out of that before it becomes an issue, which is a huge piece of a prevention plan. What do you think you would do if you knew somebody that had been experiencing something like this, or if a friend told you they were in a situation like this?
I would probably contact the police. Can I say something? It's a story. So one time, me and my friend Michaela, she goes to the school, and we live in the same neighborhood. We were hanging out on Saturday, and we went to the pool. We didn't go swimming. We just left our bikes there because we were going to our friend's house. And when we came back, there was like some guys like at the pool, and we saw their eyes were dilated. So like we just grabbed their stuff and went and like ran.
So you felt unsafe because they look like they might be under the influence or something like that?
Yeah.
And you guys ran?
Me and my best friend, we was walking home with step granny. And we was walking home with step granny because I was walking home because we live like on two different sides. So, and then I was this man, he was riding his bike around. And then he saw me going to my house, and then he looked at me, and then he just turned around his bike, and he started following me. So I didn't go home because he wouldn't know where I lived when I went home. So I just walked around and looked for a while. And it was dark. So I felt unsafe. So I called my mom. I said, Mom, somebody followed me. She said, well, don't go home yet. Just wait till he leaves. So then I waited, and then he was still following me. So it was like 10 minutes. Then he was following me, and then he found me else because he knew I wasn't going home.
Yeah, so you thought on your feet and made sure that you called your mom to see where you were and not have him follow you home. So that was good, quick thinking.
I remember it was me, my sister, my nephew, and my niece. My niece is a year old, and my sister has really been trying to get into this job. And people called her back, and she's like, watch that. I have to go to this call. Yeah, I know. So I watched them in this. It was a guy and a girl, so I was like, oh, you know, and there wasn't any young kid in the dogs. I was like, okay, probably family. The kids didn't go and play, and that's what I kind of found weird. And like it was me, my nephew, and my niece. And my niece is young, so like she's a year and a half, so if she runs off, I have to not leave my nephew Jace alone, but I have to like tag him along, and she started running off with people. So like Jenna got her, and like the guy creepily stared at us as if I was the mom or something, or like, because a lot of people say I look like a teenager, so you must have thought I was a teenager or something. And like my sister was gone for 5 minutes, and like so I walked away and was like, come on, let's go over there. And like he followed us, and that was the point where I was like, this is a little fishy. So I know my sister was on the phone, so I texted her, I was like, yeah, there's somebody following us. come over to me, make sure baby didn't talk, and you'll be fine. And he left after I went over to her. But this other one was, I remember I rode the bus at my old school, and I was in a gate community, like I rode the through. So I was in the back then. It was the last, like my last house in the neighborhood. So I was walking home, and there was some fishy people. Like I knew a lot of the people in the neighborhood. But there was this one guy. I don't know how he got in. I know like 75% of the people that live there. I don't know how he got in. He must have went through the gate or something. We had like a little park where you go through the woods to get in. That's usually how we used to get in, because sometimes you can lock those doors. And
Yeah, so he got in there too.
Yeah, so like we always used to go through the woods because we were past the gate. And so like my friend, she went to her house and it was like maybe 5-10 minutes walk to my house still. So I was walking this guy, he was walking like maybe 50 feet behind me. And I decided not to go home because he kept following me and following me.
Yeah, so you had a situation like she did
Yeah,
where
I didn't go home. I went into the woods because we made this little fort in the woods. But not even our parents knew about it. Because like if we would go outside, we'd go in there, we just hang out, and like you don't know where the entrance is. So if somebody turned their head, you can go in, nobody would know where you were. And I saw him turn around because like there was a car coming, so there's like wondered or something. So I ran in there.
So you ran and hid and he couldn't find you. Yeah, so I hear that you guys all have a lot of experience and like with situations and being able to trust your gut and your instinct and seeing when things are unsafe. What you guys are going to be doing next is an activity, so you guys can spend some more time reflecting on some things here.
Thank you. Do you guys have any specific questions about human trafficking? The next activity is not going to be connected to human trafficking, but if you have any other questions about it, you guys have some experiences that I know you wanted to share, and we appreciate that. Thank you guys for opening up and sharing those experiences. But if you have questions about what it is, what this means, how you can cite it, if you have any questions like that that you would like to ask during this time, you absolutely may before we move on to our next activity. Are these questions?
Yes.
Okay.
If I'm at the park and I'm like next to my house, and like some creep is following me, do I call my brother?
That is a good question. I think that it's going to depend on what you think feels right. I think calling the police, if it is a serious situation, is always going to be the safest thing. And if that's a little bit too much, then your brother, you can call right after that so he can come help you.
How often does human trafficking happen?
Like I said before, I mean, it's something that's happening on a daily basis, and over 40 million people in the world are experiencing that right now. How can you prevent this in your own life? All of these things that you guys have been saying tonight that you've done when situations seem unsafe is one of the big ones. Another situation or way to be able to prevent this is a lot of the online safety things that you guys have talked about, not giving out too much personal information, being cautious on social media, and some of the dating apps and different things like that. And I think the biggest one really is trusting your gut and knowing when you need to call for help to make sure you're safe.
I know you said earlier that it happened a lot to mostly females. So how often does it really occur to males?
So about 75% of the victims are women or girls. So about 25% or so, like 1 in every 4 people that's in a labor trafficking or human trafficking situation is a young man or a man.
So I walk home and I don't usually have my phone. If like this person was following me and there was like no one around, like what would I do?
I would run to where you can find to see where people are at so that somebody can call for help for you. And trying to put some things in place like you did with the walkie-talkies, or make sure you're planning a time to walk home with a friend or something like that. You know, the buddy system is a good way to go about that. Are you the buddy?
So there's this kid that lives really close to me. He rides my bus. And like when he's not there, I walk with other kids home. Because I don't feel comfortable walking around my neighborhood. even though I have police living in my neighborhood and it's gated and everything, but I still don't feel comfortable.
Yep, that's a good way to prevent it.
What do you do if this guy's following you and the police pick him up the phone?
Maybe run to somebody's house that you know whose house it is, so you know that there's going to be somebody there that can keep you safe. The other good thing would be to, when you go home, talking to your parents about what kind of safety plan you want to put in place so that you have something planned, so that you're not trying to figure it out in the moment when you're scared, but figuring out what they want you to do as your kind of plan step 1 and step 2.
One of my houses is like a dead road at the end. And like say somebody was following me and like you're actually like the last house down, what would you do for them? Like say your parents were picking up.
I think it's kind of similar to this, where when you know what your neighborhood looks like, figuring out with your family what your safety plan should be based on the people that you can trust and what resources you have there. But I would always say trying to find somebody that you trust or somebody's home that you do know would be a safe option.
Okay, then this will be our last question.
So there's like this route that I go through to walk to like either ride or walk to school. And if I go straight, it shows like on this like website, and it shows like bad areas to go through my neighborhood. So instead of going straight, I have to turn left to go through the longer way instead of a shortcut.
Yeah, that's a good way to plan ahead.
Very nice. All right. Thank you, Ms. Williams, for sharing
Yes,
about
thank
this.
you guys for sharing.
So this is what we're going to do very briefly. This should take moments, just moments. We're going to count off by 4. And you're going to remember your number so that by the time we get all the way to the end, you still need to know what your number is.
Okay, sometimes people may find themselves so close to homelessness that they have to make decisions as to avoid it. With a partner, discuss the following priorities. Which are you willing to give up first in order to maintain the stability that a home provides?
$34 per month. Work more jobs. Buy cheaper groceries.
Well, if you're not using it, then
Yeah.
So what would be your number?
What would you do?
Battery?
Yeah, like turn off your electricity before you like go to
Cut it
sleep.
back on.
So you're not wasting energy.
You to have conversation, you need to have conversation, otherwise this is pointless. But this is not the time to have the conversation. So when we are walking down, we call that processing. When we are doing our procession down led by Ms. Carias, that is not your time to chit chat and talk. It is your time to think and be mindful, but that is not your time to chit chat and talk. All right, guys, thank you so much for everyone who came out this evening on behalf of people who are homeless. You do realize that this is not just for homeless people in general, but very specifically for a population of youth. So your participation and the time that you took to talk to others about this, the time that you took to have conversations with your friends, for the chorus to get together and prepare something for the STEP team, for SCA, for all of you who came out and did a little something in sharing about this population of people, we thank you very much. Right now, what we're going to do is have kind of what's considered a moment of silence. The only reason it's going to be considered a moment of silence is because those of us who are not singing have the opportunity to listen and take in what the chorus is going to share with us. Chorus, you will obviously not be silenced. So in our moment of silence, the chorus is going to fill that silence with the beauty of their voices, and we have the opportunity to listen to that. The moment of silence is also for you to be mindful of the things that you talked about this evening, the things that you learned, and things that were presented to you. So Miss Weaver is going to get the chorus going. Thank you guys very much for coming out this evening. When the chorus is done, what we're going to do is walk back 2 by 2s. You'll give your candle to your partner. We'll walk back 2 by 2s. You will drop off your candle on the table as soon as you get in. And there are papers that Miss Williams had shared with you about the, Miss Williams?
Yeah.
Did you share about the sleep out?
No.
Okay. There are papers on the table that after you drop off the candle, you can take. One is about the sleep out. The other, there's cards there. And the cards are the things that you could put in your pockets so that when you leave, you can have that with you. And she spoke to you guys about that earlier. So we're going to have our moment of silence, but I didn't want you to have our chorus sing and then leave without understanding what to do next. So thank you guys, and we'll listen to the chorus.
There comes a time when we hear a certain call, when the world must come together as one. There are people dying. Oh, it's time to lend a hand to life, the greatest gift of all. We can't go on pretending day by day that someone somewhere will soon make a change. We are all a part of God's great big family, and the truth, love is all we need. We are the world, we are the children, we are the ones who make a brighter day, so let's start giving. There's a choice we're making, we're saving our own lives. It's true, we make a better day, just you and me. We are the world, we are the children, we are the ones who make a brighter day, so let's start giving. There's a choice